What is going on, everybody? It's MrAeroHD, and we are here with Show Me Your Tunes, episode whatever. This is the 1969 Ford Mustang 302 Boss, and if you notice, I sound pretty crisp and pretty clear. That, and you don't hear my controller ticking around the background. That's because I screwed up the recording on this one again. Post commentary on this one. So there are three contributions in order. They're going to be Daunting Beef 08, Clown Cow, Ebizu Ryoku, and Carfan 63. So thank all you guys for sending in your tunes. For next week, I'm going to ask that only people from the car club, so from the MrAeroHD car club with the tag Aero, are going to be accepted, just because there's so many submissions coming in now, just to make my life a little bit easier to pick them, because some of them there's very similar builds, so it's kind of hard. I picked the ones that stand out, right? So there is 3 engines. You could use the stock engine, you could use the LT1 6.2 liter V8, and you could use the 7 liter Hemi. And the last one is using the Hemi. And what I said for this week was that everybody had to use more camber on the front than the rear, or more negative camber on the front than the rear. And as I was told, I think that the camber is glitched, at least how it shows up in the game. A lot of people were telling me, yeah, use like -3 camber in the front, and it didn't show at all. At least from the last video. Anyways, regardless, we're going in today to the first tune, which is by Daunting Beef 08. He used about 301 horsepower, and he used the stock motor. This car was just way too down on power for me to have fun with. The chassis was set up really well, but at least for this section, which is what we'll be using from now on, or until my mind changes. Just because there's no traffic here and it doesn't change. And for the tag thing, for the club thing, if it doesn't end up working out, we'll go back to the way it was. It's just because that's how, it's just an idea I had to make it a little bit easier on myself. Anyways, just not enough power. I think maybe 350 would have been great. Definitely the best setup so far is setup. I think to make this fun for me, I know I always say, oh yeah, I love cars that are like missile-y and like low on power, but this I think was just too far. Towards low on power. It was way too far to one side of the spectrum. Just couldn't really have fun with it. At least, in the smaller corners even, it was okay, but this track, or this section's more like mid to long corners. So, just wasn't really, for me, wasn't really my style. Again, the setup was fantastic. It was probably the best feeling car out of all 4 of them, but just was not feeling the lack of power coming from that V8. So with that, we move on to build number 2, which is by Clown Cow. He has 487 horsepower in his car. If it ever transitions, which is right, yeah. So he's got 487 horsepower in his car. The ugliest wheels I've ever seen in my life. But this car was probably one of the worst. Unfortunately, I hate to insult you, but probably one of my least favorite I've ever done. It just didn't feel good. It felt very floppy and very stiff at the same time. It was like water and ice being the same entity. Basically, just. There's a lot of grip from the rear. I don't know how you could run a 345 in this car, but there's no need. The engine or the tire is so huge. I ended up going back afterwards and building my own Mustang, and I used 315s with like 600 horsepower, and that felt like a big rear tire. And I went back and looked, and people were using either the stock tire, the 255, which is way too narrow, or the 345. Which was way too big. So I don't know what this guy was running, or what Mr. Clown Cow was running, but it definitely felt like it was way too much grip from the rear, and way too much grip from the front, and it felt stiff, but at the same time it felt very floppy and very unresponsive and very American. And I mean, that's what tuning is for. It's supposed to tune out these things. I don't know if the tune didn't just translate well. I don't know if it's part of that glitch where the settings are wonky. I don't know if I have to load these tunes in the showroom or in the garage or instead of on the fly. I don't know. I'm not sure. But at least for this tune, I was expecting a lot more, and I really didn't get what I wanted out of it. I thought it was going to be like, okay, you know, the last one was 300 horsepower. It was alright, but I feel like it could have been a lot more fun with more power. I felt like this was going to be the balance, but it just wasn't there. I just don't think that, yeah, there wasn't really much to redeem out of this. There wasn't enough power. There was enough power, but I mean, like, there wasn't enough power to say, like, oh yes, there's lots of power. The power wasn't a factor at all, and the chassis just was not to my my liking at all, and that was my mistake right there, just running into the thing. Again, I don't think I said it in the last episode, so I'll repeat it again. This is going to be the little test area. This is going to be where I'm going to test all the cars. So if you guys want to, and I'm only going to be doing 4 laps each, no more, no less, unless there's like some sort of big mistake or something, or it's raining or whatever. So I'll only be doing 4 laps. So if your car does not warm up or come into its own after 4 laps, that's up to you to tune it. Oh yeah, and yeah, there's a stupid amount of rear tire pressure too here, which I didn't understand. So now we're going into the third build, which is Ebizu Ryoku. If you guys go to my streams a lot, it's Grassroots SR for my streams. Again, a guy I had a lot of expectations for. This one just felt like a lot like the second one, but nowhere near as bad, if that makes sense. The front end was a little bit slow, but this was consistently slow, if that makes sense. The other car was, you know, sometimes it would transition slow, whatever, but at the same time it felt stiff. This felt soft. It felt very, very stable, very, very controlled, and very, very it felt like there was a lot of toe on the front, a lot of front toe. A lot of grip here. Never really had problems trying to slide this thing. Just my one main complaint is I think that the rear tire may have been too big. Again, I don't know what tire was specifically run on this car, but I know somebody was running a 345, and I just felt like there was a lot of rear grip coming out of this car. So maybe down 1 tire size if you can, or maybe just a little bit of tuning. I don't know. It just was a little bit too grippy for me, and it just the grip from the rear kind of offset the grip from the front. I just wanted to be a little bit more responsive, a little bit more twitchy almost. It just comes from running wheel setups on controllers. A lot of people running controllers run more stabilized, tame setup, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with any of these setups. It's me reviewing them, so it's what I feel and what I think. So coming into our last one, I know I usually say horsepower limit at 666 or 650, and that's usually the case, but I saw the horsepower for this one and it said 666, and I said I have to give this one a whirl. This is Car Fan C4R Fan 63, and he used the Hemi, the 7-liter Hemi, and this was probably my favorite overall setup. It had, you know, a lot of power, a lot of rear grip, but because it had that power, it didn't feel as numb or as boring as, you know, some of the other ones. But yeah, because of that power, it kind of offsets all the grip and all the the slowness and responsiveness. You can drive it a lot more with the throttle instead of relying on your foot braking and your clutch kicking and whatever to transition and move the car around. This one was the most fun out of the 4. Just maybe a little bit high on the power side. I don't know. It just, at least it's built properly. It's like, you know, it's not like 660 horsepower and there's no tire. There was a lot of tire there. And it was, for what it was, for the most part, was a very balanced setup. So car C4R Fan 63 is probably my favorite out of the bunch, just for the most well-rounded. Definitely not perfect. I still preferred, you know, so I'll be the first one to say someone's setup is better than mine, but I still think the one I went and made, maybe I need to, it's just the rear tire was probably a little bit too big on this. You can see like the tire marks are huge. So for next week, guys, we're doing something completely different. Your car is going to be the 1964 Chevrolet Impala, which is, you know, the old school Impala. So you're going to say, what are my stipulations? make me the worst drift tune that you can. Make it as bad as possible. So it still has to be a drift car, but like floppy, bad, doesn't handle well. You know, make it as goofy and as ridiculous and as bad as possible. You can use any tire you want, any camber you want. Just make sure it's not X-Class. Actually, it doesn't even matter if it's X-Class. Do whatever the hell you want to it. And remember, you have to be part of the MrAeroHD Car Club to be eligible. Thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you appreciated this post commentary. I'm sorry that I lost it and I did something stupid. It won't happen again, I promise. Thank you guys very much, and I'll see you next time. Hey, thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more of my videos, go ahead and click that subscribe button. I also have a Facebook and a Twitter. For those links, be sure to check out the description box below.